This is A Rude Awakening. I'm Sabrina Jacobs. On today's show, I speak to Talia Nimmer, staff attorney for the Climate Law Institute with the Center for Biological Diversity. She's going to give us an update on the fight against Sable Offshore Corporation's attempt to restart drilling off the coast of Santa Barbara. We switch gears and speak to Martin Borg, Executive Director of the Ecology Center, and he will give us an update on their latest happenings, including saving the Market Match program. And we'll close out the show with part one of my interview with Maurice Carney, Executive Director of Friends of the Congo, on their latest efforts to save the DRC in conjunction with the Pasanja Coalition. But first, the news.
I'm Max Pringle with these headlines. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told reporters today in Washington that the U.S. Navy blockade of Iranian ships and ports in the Middle East will continue for, quote, as long as it takes.
Our blockade is growing and going global. America's military is unmatched.
Secretary Hegseth said today that Iran has made lifting the blockade a condition of resuming peace talks with Washington. Hostilities between Iran and the U.S. have shifted to the waters in and around the Strait of Hormuz, a key conduit for oil and gas, since a ceasefire paused the war. Both sides in recent days have seized vessels they said were violating their respective restrictions on shipping in the area. The Justice Department has ended its probe into Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, clearing a major roadblock to the confirmation of his successor, Kevin Warsh. U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, said on X today that her office was ending its probe into the Fed's extensive building renovations because the Fed's Inspector General would scrutinize them instead. The decision ends an investigation that was among several undertaken by the Justice Department into President Trump's perceived adversaries. The investigation for months had failed to gain traction as prosecutors struggled to articulate a basis to suspect criminal conduct. Pakistani officials say Iran's top diplomat is expected to travel to Pakistan this weekend for talks, raising hopes for revived negotiations in the U.S.-Iran war. But President Trump appears less optimistic, Simon Gaitan reports.
US President Trump says he's under no pressure to end the war with Iran and that he doesn't want to rush peace talks. The US and Iran remain in a stalemate over the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway for oil and gas supplies, with Trump saying no ship will pass until Tehran agrees to a deal. President Trump also announced the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire has been extended by 3 weeks, following his meeting with the ambassadors of both countries at the White House on Thursday. From Feature Story News in London, I'm Simon Gaitan.
Meanwhile, President Trump says the negotiations between Israeli and Lebanese officials this week in Washington have been making progress. The Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah, however, has opposed the negotiations. More from Nick Harpin.
President Trump said the meeting between the two ambassadors went very well and that the United States was going to work with Lebanon to help it protect itself from the Iran-backed group Hezbollah. President Trump announced the ceasefire and said that during that next 3 weeks, it's possible the Prime Minister of Israel and the President of Lebanon could meet face-to-face at the White House to seal a longer-term deal. He also said that Iran must stop funding Hezbollah. One of the key demands that Tehran stops working with proxies, including Hamas in Gaza and the Houthis in Yemen. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
U.S. stocks were mixed before the bell and oil prices flipped lower after President Trump extended a waiver that made it easier for foreign vessels to transport energy products to the U.S. Futures for the S&P 500 rose 0.3% early today, while futures for the Dow Jones Industrial Average were unchanged. NASDAQ futures, led by chip makers, jumped 1.3%. The White House said today that President Trump issued a 90-day extension to the Jones Act waiver, making it easier for non-American vessels to transport oil and natural gas in the wake of the Iran war. That sent oil prices modestly lower. A U.S. soldier involved in the military operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro earlier this year has been charged with using classified information about the mission to win more than $400,000 in an online betting market. Ben Thomas reports.
The indictment says the soldier was promoted to the rank of Master Sergeant in 2023, the second highest enlisted rank in the Army. He's been charged with unlawful use of confidential government information for personal gain, theft of non-public government information, commodities fraud, wire fraud, and making an unlawful monetary transaction. He could face years in prison. Ben Thomas, Washington.
The Trump administration has reclassified medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug. The order, signed Thursday, marks a first step toward broader federal acceptance. It could boost research and profitability in the marijuana industry, but it doesn't legalize marijuana under federal law. The reclassification moves state-licensed medical marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, alongside substances like ketamine. Recreational marijuana remains a Schedule 1 drug, more like heroin. The change could allow businesses that sell medical marijuana to claim tax deductions for expenses, though complications remain. Studies show that marijuana use has increased nationally as more states embrace legalization. President Trump has announced a deal with Regeneration to lower the cost of its pharmaceutical products. The agreement, announced Thursday, includes lowering the prices of current and future drugs on Medicaid and selling a cholesterol drug for $225 on the White House's discounted drug website, TrumpRx. The deal, first reported by Notice, is part of the Trump administration's effort to provide economic relief to Americans ahead of the midterm elections in November. It's one of many deals the White House has struck that aim to align U.S. pharmaceutical prices with other developed countries. Details of these agreements remain undisclosed, but Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says non-proprietary information will be shared with Congress. Federal appeals court this week issued an order blocking a California law requiring federal immigration agents to wear identification. It's another blow to the state's attempts to limit the Trump administration's aggressive enforcement tactics. The Trump administration argued that it would threaten the safety of officers who were facing harassment, doxing, and violence, and that it violated the Constitution because the state was directly seeking to regulate the federal government. A three-judge panel of the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals issued an injunction pending appeal. It had earlier blocked the law from taking effect. The decision could
Welcome back. We are back. This is A Rude Awakening. I'm Sabrina Jacobs. So, Sable Offshore Corp. Been keeping a drumbeat on that topic as of late, dear listener. If you've been listening to the show, you know that Sable has kept themselves in the news here at A Rude Awakening. And the latest is a Santa Barbara Superior Court judge rejected Sable Offshore Corp's request to rescind a preliminary injunction prohibiting the restart of an oil pipeline system on the California coast until and unless specific conditions were met. And the company restarted the pipeline in March, which we reported on here, despite the injunction. And that ruling comes after the Trump administration issued an unprecedented order last month directing Sable to, quote, prioritize and allocate pipeline transportation services for hydrocarbons under the Defense Production Act. California has challenged that Trump order in federal court. Here to talk about it once again is Talia Nimmer. She's staff attorney for the Climate Law Institute with the Center for Biological Diversity. Talia, welcome back to A Rude Awakening.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, so let's quote you here, Talia Nimmer. The court made the right call, calling this injunction or keeping this injunction in place in the face of Trump officials' shamefully authoritarian attempt to sidestep California's laws and environmental protections. Right? So what is this? What is going on here? We've got this state injunction and we've got this challenge to this federal act of defense, right? But there's no defense that's really needed as far as this isn't, we're not in the same space that we were in back in World War II. Go ahead, Talia Nimmer.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the Trump administration issued an order under the Defense Production Act, which directed Sable to prioritize allocation of contracts and services for this pipeline. And under that premise, Sable asked the court here to lift the preliminary injunction prohibiting Sable from restarting these pipelines absent all necessary approvals and absent notifying the court and the parties that it's obtained all those approvals. And so this past Friday, we all went back to court, Sable to request that the preliminary injunction be lifted and us to request that the preliminary injunction stay in effect and that the court immediately shut down these pipelines. And the court, rejected Sable's request to lift the pipelines. It found that the preliminary injunction is still very much binding and enforceable, despite this Defense Production Act order, which is very significant because it's the first time a court has ruled that way. Sable has raised this argument in numerous of its cases, so we're hopeful that other courts will follow suit and continued our requests for an immediate shutdown of the pipelines. So we will be back in May to again request that these pipelines be shut down in light of Sable's blatant violation of this preliminary injunction.
My goodness. So I just, why, where is this, where are these audacious moves by Sable Offshore Corp coming from? I mean, is it because the Trump administration is in power now, or, I mean, it seems like so this is something that they would have tried to do regardless of who's in office. I'm not understanding how they're just okay, or it's okay for them to break the law, break this injunction and not be penalized. There's nothing. There hasn't even been a slap of the hand, so to speak. Go ahead.
Well, according to this ruling, it's very much not okay that Sable ignored this preliminary injunction, even despite its argument that it no longer needed to comply in light of this Defense Production Act order. And this ruling very clearly states that, Sable is not above state law and still needs to comply. And although the judge did not issue an immediate shutdown, we will be back in May asking her not only to shut down these pipelines, but also to hold Sable in contempt of court for, disregarding its requirements and its state law and showing that Sable's not above the law and it should and can be held accountable.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what type of accountability do you and the I think it's the Washington Foundation? What type of accountability are you looking for? It's like monetary accountability. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we will be seeking contempt of court, an order that says that Sable has been charged with contempt of court, and contempt of court has numerous civil penalties associated with it, and either can result in jail time for noncompliance with a court order. So we will be seeking maximum penalties under the law to ensure that Sable is held accountable and to deter them from future incompliance with the law.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. I tell you, they're just. I have to question. I have to question the level of audaciousness by the fossil fuel corporations, the fossil fuel industry. I do not understand where. Anyway, that level of greed, I don't think we'll ever understand it, right, Talia? My goodness, jeez. It's just too much, absolutely too much. So, those are the next steps. What about after that? What if they keep breaking the law? How would how is the Center for Biological Diversity and its sister organizations going to move forward? Just keep going to court, keep going to court, um, front lines, protests. What else can be done, do you think?
Well, I mean, the first priority is getting a court to order immediate shutdown of these pipelines for us. If Sable is not in compliance with a court order to immediately shut down these pipelines, it can be held in jail until compliance is met. So we really do want a court order immediately shutting down these pipelines, and hopefully that will deter Sable from violating the law and force them to actually be in compliance with this preliminary injunction.
Well, fingers crossed for that. Fingers crossed for that. I really hope that happens. Well, we'll keep talking. We will keep talking. This is unfortunately, a never-ending conversation. But yeah, hopefully there will be better news or more better news to report as far as this is concerned, because this is beyond ridiculous. They just keep on and keep on and keep on. You would think that they would just maybe stop, but no, that is not the case. Talia, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to, reiterate that this past Friday was really a big win in terms of a judge ruling that Sable's not above the law, and that these laws that exist to protect our coasts and our wildlife and our residents exist for a very good reason. And Sable cannot just unilaterally decide to disregard those laws, and should and can be held accountable.
There you have it. All right. Talia Nimmer, staff attorney for the Climate Law Institute with the Center for Biological Diversity. Thank you so much for being on A Rude Awakening once again. Looking forward to talking to you in the near future.
Thanks so much for having me, Sabrina.
Welcome back. We are back. This is A Rude Awakening. I'm Sabrina Jacobs. It is Earth Week. Okay, it's Earth Month. We just had Earth Day. But to me, over here, doing my thing every week, every Friday at 8 a.m., every day is Earth Day. And to talk about what has been going on with their organization of the community, made from the community, we have the Executive Director of the Ecology Center, Martin Bork. Martin Bork, welcome back to A Rude Awakening. Truly appreciate you.
Great to be with you this morning, Sabrina. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right. So I was like, okay, there's a lot going on, a lot of folks having a lot of events. And of course, we'll have that listed at the end of the show. But Martin, I wanted to bring you back on the show because the Ecology Center is all about the community. It's all about community engagement and all about celebrating the earth and farming and agroecology and seeds and all that good stuff. So talk to us about the latest and policy here in the state of California. So talk to us about the latest that the Ecology Center has been getting into.
Yeah, thanks, Sabrina. Earth Day, it's a time of year when we like to just sort of reground and reroot and take stock. And, I like to say that the Ecology Center was conceived in the summer of love and born on the first Earth Day in 1970, when we actually got our IRS letter that, given us charitable status as a nonprofit. So every Earth Day, is a time when we celebrate our birthday and we come back together. Last night we had a member event at the Ecology Center, and it was just so powerful to have all of our long-standing staff and board and community members and donors and supporters show up and just share the love for all the work that's happened over the last 5 decades. It's an amazing organization that, as you said, it starts with the community and just having a space where people can come together and share ideas and get motivated and get going on local projects and policies that provide direct, immediate benefit here in Berkeley, but have a ripple effect that in some cases has spread out across the nation and the globe.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on a lot right now for 2026. As you know, it's been a hell of a couple years for the planet, particularly with the current administration's attack on environmental legislation and protection of our air, our water, our lands, and yet we got to keep grinding forward on just the basics of our everyday lives and doing our best to reduce our impacts on the planet at the personal level, while we also lock arms together to make broader change and protect the rest of the globe.
No doubt. Got to protect the whole globe. It's a hard one. It's rough. It is so difficult. So it's my understanding that you've been hitting the capital there, Sacramento, with legislation or trying to get legislation passed regarding market match. So what exactly is market match, and how far have you guys gotten?
Yeah, so we run 3 Berkeley farmers markets, but we're part of we're the lead organization on a statewide alliance, California Alliance of Farmers Markets. And one of the most important things that people can do to protect the planet is to shop directly from local farmers at farmers markets. It's a simple act, but it's a powerful one. These are the farmers who are the cutting edge farmers on climate smart farmers. They're practicing water conservation. They're the ones who engage and respect their workers much more than the big corporate ag in California. And the food is not traveling thousands of miles to get to your plate, and you actually know where it's coming from, and are protected against some of these large scale health concerns that can happen in large scale corporate agriculture. So supporting those farmers markets and showing up week after week is a really important thing you can do to reduce your impact on the climate, to support agriculture, to keep agriculture. Food should be grown in the ground, under the sun, by farmers, and you can only really be sure you're getting that at a farmer's market, because you can ask directly the farmer who's growing it. But to support them, we're doing this work in Sacramento, and really it's to make sure that kind of food, it costs more to produce, because corporate agriculture is able to externalize a lot of their costs on their workers, on the environment. And we have this program, Market Match. It matches CalFresh benefits, or what was formerly food stamps. So if you use a CalFresh debit card at a farmer's market, this program will match that up to $15 per market. So that could be $60 a month of additional purchasing power for low-income shoppers. And every one of those dollars goes straight into a farmer's pocket. So we're getting double duty out of that money. And that's a program that's been funded through the California Department of Food and Agriculture for a decade now. And the funding's going to run out. And so we are in Sacramento yesterday and the day before with a coalition from San Diego to Eureka, farmers, market operators, shoppers, coming out to Sacramento to really try and apply some pressure and get some support for a budget request to renew fund for this program. And we hope that folks out there are familiar with the program. If you It's not just in Berkeley. We're at 300 locations statewide, and you can find a location by going to the Farmers Market Finder or fmfinder.org, and it will show you which markets accept CalFresh EBT and which markets offer market match. So it's really easy to find a market near you. We're at about 40% of the farmers markets across the state, and we're asking the legislature and the governor to support a budget request that would allow us to serve every market in the state.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And this is not a time crunch. I mean, it's a time sensitive topic, issue, bill that or budget request that needs to happen because Newsom's going to be out and we don't know who's coming in, right?
Yeah, that's right. We are in the thick of it right now, and folks can go to savemarketmatch.org. That's savemarketmatch.org, and there's a function there on that website. You can send a letter to the governor. You can send a letter to legislative leaders seeking support for this renewed funding. The program is called the California Nutrition Incentive Program at the Department of Food and Agriculture, or CNIP, and that's what funds Market Match. So please check out the website, send a letter in, show your support, sign our petition. This whole process for this budget cycle will be done by early June. So, we've really just got 6 or 8 weeks to make this happen, and we could really use people's support.
Wow. SaveMarketMatch.org, SaveMarketMatch.org. Oh man, that sounds very, very, very important. And especially with EBT funding being cut, being slashed, I mean, everything on the federal level being slashed. There's every penny counts. Every penny counts for every household. Oh, goodness. So we got a few more minutes left here, Martin. Oh, yes. And folks, of course, all pertinent links will be on the show description page for A Rude Awakening at kpfa.org. So, Martin, I got a few more minutes here. What's happening with the Ecology Center proper? What's happening with the store? Anything special going on for Earth Week?
Yeah.
All right.
So we have our Earth Week sale going on. The Ecology Center store is on San Pablo by Dwight Way in Berkeley, and we offer a whole range of green products. Last few years, we've been really focused on refillables, meaning body care products and household cleaning products where you can refill your own container. So we have a whole refill section. We have all kinds of products there at the store that can help folks to reduce their impact on the environment and on the body burden of toxins that we're exposed to. So a lot of plastic-free stuff, a lot of toxic-free products. This week, for Earth Week, we have a 20% off sale for members. So come in. If you're a member, come shop now is a great time. If you're not a member, come through, become a member. And this is part of a broader effort. We're providing a model for how reuse and refill can happen in the retail space, and we're seeing that grow and expand, not just through the Bay Area, but across the globe. So taking those local ideas, making them work at a small scale, and then using that as a model to make broader change throughout the state and the nation.
And also, the Ecology Center is also doing a lot as far as getting the word out regarding the soda tax. Talk to us about that real quick.
Yeah, in 2014, we passed the nation's first soda tax. It put 1 penny per ounce tax on sodas and sugary beverages in Berkeley to support the cooking and gardening program at the school district and community health equity grants program. And we are now going back to the voters, hopefully in November, to increase that tax to 2 pennies per ounce and to dedicate those funds specifically for, again, the cooking and gardening program, the school gardens at the Berkeley Unified School District, and in our community health equity programs. We're seeking folks to sign the petition right now, and you could do that at the Berkeley Farmers Markets, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. or you can come to our store and sign a petition there. But we need to gather 5,000 signatures by mid-May to get that on the ballot in November. And hopefully that will pass and really set us up for the future to address diet-related illnesses and other health equity issues.
Most definitely. And putting that tax to good use, farming for kids, teaching farming to kids. That is absolutely wonderful. Okay, and we just need the address for Ecology Center. Go ahead.
Come down 2530 San Pablo Avenue in Berkeley.
2530 San Pablo Avenue, Berkeley. Ah, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Gotta love the Ecology Center. Still doing the good work, ecologycenter.org, ecologycenter.org. Martin Bork, thank you so much. Truly appreciate you being on A Rude Awakening. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina. Keep up the good work. It's a great show. We love it.
All right. Thank you. Welcome back. We are back. This is A Rude Awakening. I'm Sabrina Jacobs. Now, we've got Earth Day. We've had Earth Day this week, right? It was on Monday, but I like to look at every day as Earth Day. But in celebration, some organizations are looking at April as Earth Month. So we're going to drill it down to that. Earth Month, April. So this Earth Month, Friends of the Congo is highlighting the vital work of the Basanja Coalition. And folks who have been listening to the show have heard me and heard one of the co-founders, Samuel, of the Basanja Coalition right here with the executive director of Friends of the Congo. And today we have Maurice Carney, the executive director, to have a conversation with us about what his organization is doing in conjunction with the Basanja Coalition to celebrate Earth Month and to celebrate the voices that have been trying to give life to what is going on as far as the Democratic Republic of the Congo, as far as all of the mining by these multinational corporations, what they're doing to the environment and the people. Maurice Carney, welcome to A Rude Awakening once again.
Sabrina, it's a pleasure to be back with you. Thank you so much for having us on.
All right. So, my goodness. So we missed the movies, unfortunately, the films, the documentaries, that has already passed. But let's focus on the content that you are doing. You and your organization, along with the Basanja Coalition, are trying to spread the information about what's happening in the Congo, about the rob, rape, and pillage of the land, the people, for these precious minerals, for this precious resource that is that's powering our world here in the 21st century. Go ahead and talk to us about that one particular documentary that is online right now. That was live streamed via YouTube. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And as you said, we're sharing and platforming documentaries that are films that are coming out of the Congo with several particular aims. Sabrina, we have a sense of the exploitation that's taking place, as you laid out, in terms of the ravaging of the environment, the displacement of millions of people, the tremendous loss of life as a result of the pursuit of these minerals that we use in our modern devices. However, a story that is not often told is the resistance on the part of the Congolese people, the solutions that they're coming up with in order to combat the extractivism and the exploitation. So you have local and indigenous communities under the auspices of the Basanja Coalition who are resisting, organizing, movement building, producing knowledge. And these films on the rainforest, films on the peatlands, films on mining communities provide a window into the knowledge production that's coming out of the Congo. And that's what we encourage people to engage with, so that they see that there's a tremendous amount of hope and action that's unfolding on the ground, on the front lines in the Congo. And that's probably one of the biggest messages I would like for people to get, that there's movement taking place, there's action taking place, there's solutions and prescriptions being implemented on the part of Congolese. And where we come in, Friends of the Congo, is of course to amplify those actions that are being taken, but also to build a bridge, solidarity, to let people know how they can be involved and engaged. And the films like Jumu, Deep Cobalt, takes us into a journey where people probably have never been, over 100 feet down into the ground, where the cobalt diggers took the cameras down and provide a narrative of what it's like to dig for this mineral that ultimately winds up in our electric vehicles and the batteries in our cell phones, and the power packs for the wind turbines and the solar panels. So minerals that are vital to the green energy transition. So the coalition takes us on a journey that we really haven't been on before.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Indeed. And I think, I know we are all better for this very important tour that the Congo, in conjunction with the Basanja Coalition, are on this whole month, sharing voices, the aspirations, the ancestral knowledge of Congo's indigenous communities. Folks need to hear from those indigenous communities. I mean, there needs to be more thought that goes into this green transition. Yes, it can save the planet, but who pays the price? Who pays the price for that? But I think it's important through the films, the forums, and the deep dives into, as the press release puts it, as your organizations put it, agro-liberation. I mean, that is just so important. So, Maurice, one question that I have, because I have a lot of conversations with folks that are on that side of pushing for this green transition to stop the fossil fuels, multinational corporations that are basically doing the same thing to the planet that a lot of these mining corporations are doing. What are some of the solutions that your organization has come to in conjunction with the Basanja Coalition and other organizations in the Global South that are having to deal with these multinational corporations coming in and just having people on the land?
Right. There's several, Sabrina, and folks in the Congo have been articulating some of these prescriptions. First, which is really important, is to render visible this underbelly, right? Because even those who advocates, let's say, of the green energy transition, a good number of them tend to downplay and render invisible the negative aspects of the extractivism. So one is to have a whole holistic view of the life cycle of these resources that wind up in our devices. I think that's really, really important because even in, I'll give you an example. Even the progressive forces, right? The climate justice forces. In the wake of the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act in the United States, we saw that there was a concern about what was going to happen with the workers as we made this transition from fossil fuels to driven, industry, the auto industry, for example, to electric vehicles. And in response, to support the workers who were in the auto industry, we saw organizations like 350.org and the Sierra Club, in conjunction with the United Auto Workers, they all, mobilized, say, okay, how are we going to protect the workers as we move from this fossil fuel driven industry to this electric vehicle, industry. And they mobilized to protect the workers at the top of the supply chain. So what we said, we engaged them, the Sierra Club, 350.org, appealed to them and say, well, the workers at the top, there is no worker at the top without a worker at the bottom. You're looking to protect those in Detroit who are now going to be producing electric vehicles. But in order for you to produce electric vehicles, you need a cobalt that's coming out of the Congo. So, and there are workers at the bottom in the industrial mining sector, in the informal or artisanal or mining sector. That ought to be taken into consideration in your advocacy, in your narrative, the whole bit. So that's one in terms of prescriptions, ensuring that the entire supply chain is taken into consideration. Two, we, as a part of doing that, Friends of the Congo work with a range of trade and policy groups in Washington, where they're making demands on policymakers in Washington, these groups, making demands like Public Citizen, Trade Justice Education Fund, Earthworks, a range of policy groups. And they're saying there are standards that are embedded in US law, standards that deal with protection of workers, standards that deal with protection of the environment, standards that deal with human rights violations, that these standards that are enshrined in US law, that they are, that US corporations and US government adhere to these standards when it engages spaces in the global South, right? So that's another demand that's put on the table. And in addition to that, when we talk about standards, if we look at the Democratic Republic of Congo in particular, they have incredible laws on the books. However, those laws are not enforced or implemented. So mobilizing to support local institutions, the civil society, the indigenous communities, so that they can be strengthened to defend their interests against their local elites who lack the political will or even flaunt these laws, strengthening those local institutions, working in collaboration with them to strengthen them so that they can defend their interests is also another path that we're pursuing. And then, we all have a responsibility in terms of consumers. Just down the road from you, the University of California, Davis had produced a report that talks about reconfiguring the transportation system in the United States in a way, for example, building more walkable cities, basically using more public transportation, which basically taking the pressure, the consumption pressure off of the extractivism that's required in order to produce automobiles, where one person may be driving an automobile for, however many miles to get to work. So there are a range of prescriptions that are on the table. However, one of the key areas, right, is recognizing and acknowledging the impact that extractivism, that our way of life is having on local and indigenous communities. And if you don't see it, if you're not aware of it, you're not likely to even take it into consideration, whether in your narrative, your policy, or whatever. So that's why these films that we produce that bring these local voices from the Congo, literally from the depths of the earth, to Silicon Valley, to Washington, D.C., is so critical to have those local voices be a part of the decision-making process. And we've seen the impact of it already. We had Friends of the Congo organized to bring local and indigenous communities from the Congo, women, to Washington, D.C., to share with members of Congress, policymakers, the impact that the U.S.'s pursuit of securing its critical mineral supply chain by looking to extract lithium and copper and cobalt from the Congo, the impact that could have on their lives. And as a result of that, we've seen members of Congress take into consideration what these women brought to them from the Congo, and dozens of members of Congress issued a letter to the President of the United States saying that these women are saying, this is what the potential impact is of the policies that you're pursuing. Can you respond to this, right? Can you address these matters? So if those women's voices were not heard, the members of Congress and policymakers in Washington wouldn't have the language or the tools coming directly from the global South, in this case, the Congo, to pose these questions and put these demands in front of the President of the United States.
Right. So with that, I mean, okay, so what you're saying is based very basic and detailed. At the same time, Maurice, as you are wont to do, you're such an amazing speaker. Love it. So we have our laws here in the United States. There are laws on the books in the DRC, but nobody's listening to them. Nobody is they're ineffectual, to say the least. So the onus is on these multinational corporations, specifically the tech companies, the tech industry in Silicon Valley, as well as locally, the DRC, need to take all of these laws and effectuate them, right?
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
No, just that's it. I mean,
and there are two other, certainly Silicon Valley, certainly local officials in the DRC, but also the U.S. government, right, and the U.S. taxpayer. Why do I say that? Because in the pursuit of these critical minerals, especially coming out of the United States, it's the U.S. government that's on the forefront and bringing the private sector with it, right? You have the Trump administration in 2019, they established what they call the International Finance Development Corporation. And people inside the Beltway in Washington call it DFC for short. And that's a U.S. investment arm, right? And the International Finance Development Corporation, in conjunction with the Export-Import Bank, they're looking to put up to $200 billion to pursue critical minerals and secure the critical minerals supply chain for the U.S. defense sector, or what they now call the war sector, and U.S. commercial sector. So even in the case of the DRC and the United States, they established a strategic partnership agreement, to secure the critical mineral supply chain for the United States. That is to say, to get access to the cobalt that's in the Congo, to get access to the copper and the lithium and the coltan, right? And it wasn't a private company that stepped in initially. It was a DFC that put up $1 billion, letter of intent in order to secure the copper and the cobalt and the coltan and the lithium coming out of the Congo. Even in February of this year, the State Department and Trump administration organized what they call a minerals ministerial forum, where they brought in 54 countries from around the world. And the Export-Import Bank pledged up to $12 billion in order to, launch this, what they call a critical minerals trading bloc, in an effort to bring, friendly nations together, what they call friendly nations, to combat China in this pursuit for critical minerals. So it's the government, right? The U.S. government and its investment arms, like the International Finance Development Corporation, the Export-Import Bank, that's taken the lead, and they're bringing the private sector with them. So what that means is that as individual citizens in the United States, voters, they have an opportunity to apply pressure, to write letters to their members of Congress, to ask of their elected officials, what are you doing, seeing that our tax dollars are going to support the securing of these critical minerals? What are you doing to ensure that the environment is protected, to ensure that the labor standards are respected, to ensure that human rights violations are not being committed, to ensure that those in the local and indigenous communities in the Congo and Colombia and Brazil and elsewhere, that the principle of prior and informed consent is being adhered to. Right? So it brings us, we have a key role to play, taking into consideration the extent to which the government is using US taxpayers' dollars in order to pursue these minerals and securing its supply chain.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, the US DRC strategic plan, or what have you, that Trump and Kagame and Tshisekedi came up with. This was, what was it, December, right, Maurice?
Yes, it was December 4th, and it's not just with the DRC. There's just so many other countries there. Now, Malaysia, Indonesia, as you know, we grounded our brothers and sisters from Philippines around U.S. pursuit of critical minerals. President Trump talked about going after Greenland. Greenland, when they talked about Greenland, it was pursue critical minerals in Greenland. And this isn't the first time that Greenland came up. Vanity Fair published an article in 2022 that talked about the billionaire class, the likes of Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and other, Michael Bloomberg, on their company right there in Berkeley called Cobalt Metals. Cobalt Metals wanted to pursue access cobalt in the Congo. However, at the time, there was a risk, reputational risk was in the space, because companies like Tesla and Microsoft itself and Apple were being sued for extracting or sourcing minerals from the Congo that was tainted with child labor. So there's a concern on the part of this billionaire class about reputational risk in pursuing cobalt in the Congo. So they looked to Greenland as an alternative. This was back in 2022. So you even had folks from Silicon Valley that were investing and prospecting in Greenland in an effort to get access to those critical minerals. So it's not just this Congo, but wherever these minerals are found, the the U.S. government, the billionaire class, the tech bros are looking to access those minerals. Now, well, as we have today, Sabrina, we see that cobalt metals right there out of Berkeley, they raised $1 billion in 2025 in order to pursue lithium deposits in the Congo. And the question of reputational risk is taken to the back seat, especially seeing that the Trump administration is now taking the lead and establishing a strategic partnership with the Democratic Republic of Congo, an imbalanced one, I must add, that really doesn't accrue to the benefit of the Congolese people and stands to benefit the U.S. government, of course, and the billionaire class in the United States. And cobalt minerals pursued lithium mines. It's one of the largest deposits of lithium, hard rock lithium in the world that's found in the DRC.
All right, just one announcement, folks. This is the last of the Earth Day week events. And in honor of Earth Day 2026, the Sonoma County Climate Activist Network, SoCoCan, is launching a zero waste campaign. So you can go to their zero waste website page at sonomacountycan.org/zero waste to view and download their zero waste action picker checklist so you can choose how you will participate. Post it on your fridge for a daily reminder on how to reduce your waste. And remember, folks, recycling is not the solution to this problem. Plastic that is recycled is typically downcycled into weaker products, such as single-use bags that must be landfilled. So-called compostable bags and utensils require special equipment that most municipalities do not have. Whether a bag or a fork is made from a potato or from crude oil, plastic does not decompose. And of course, chasing those arrows with the numbers on the packaging are a marketing scam by the oil industry to give the illusion that plastic can be recycled. Don't fall for the greenwashing tactics, okay? Again, check out the website. That's sonomacountycan.org/zero waste. Okay? And of course, all pertinent links that you've heard on today's show will be posted to the show description page for A Rude Awakening at kpfa.org. And that does it for another edition of A Rude Awakening. I'm Sabrina Jacobs. A big thank you to my guests, Talia Nimmer, Martin Bork, and Maurice Carney for taking the time. Kirsten is on the controls. The music on today's show is Holden with De La Pole and Heliocentrics, featuring Melvin Van Peebles with Chapter 12 Epilogue. I'll be back next week, same time, same place. Stay tuned for a rebroadcast of Democracy Now! Coming up next. And remember, good people, embrace each other as we embrace the mother of us all. Thank you for listening.
You are invited to a roundtable discussion on Black feminism and visual art to explore how Black feminist artists continue to expand the field of visual culture. This talk centers on 11 artworks on display at the SFO Airport. That's Friday, April 24th from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the San Francisco Airport's Aviation Museum. For more information, go to eventbrite.com's listing, Reclaiming Histories, Black Feminism, and Visual Art.
Every Friday, KPFA brings you what corporate media won't. Project Censored exposes the stories buried behind the profit-driven newsroom. The truth they'd rather you never question. An economic update breaks down how power and money really works, who benefits, who pays, and how we fight back. 2 shows, 1 mission. Independent journalism that keeps you informed and unafraid. KPFA, truth that empowers. Voices you won't hear anywhere else.
So someone in 1949 was like, yeah, here's the idea. We'll build a radio station, broadcast actual truth, invite activists, artists, and thinkers to speak freely, and the public will just chip in to keep it going. Oh, and no commercials. Ever. Seriously, that was the plan. Fast forward more than 75 years later. Yup, we're still here. Still powered by listeners. Still not for sale. KPFA, a fresh signal in a dial full of static.
If following the corporate media narratives is cool, then we've been outcasts since 1949. This is 94.1 KPFA and 89.3 KPFB in Berkeley, 88.1 KFCF in Fresno, and online everywhere at kpfa.org.